Hi students, welcome to today's lesson. Today we will be learning about the roles and relationships of key groups with a focus on the peasants, artisans and merchants in feudal Japan. The farmers and peasants. As we know, just below the samurai on the social ladder were the farmers or peasants, which accounted for about 90% of medieval Japan's population. According to Confucian ideals, farmers were superior to artisans and merchants because they produced the food that all the other classes depended on. Although technically they were considered an honored class, the farmers lived under a crushing tax burden for much of the feudal era. During the reign of the third Tokugawa shogun, Iemitsu farmers were not allowed to eat any of the rice they grew. They had to hand it all over to their daimyo and then await for him to give some back in charity. The peasants had different classes as well, ranging from farmers who owned their land and those who lived and worked on the daimyo's land, and those who went from place to place looking for work. Some peasants were so poor they had to be the servants of other servants to survive. Peasants' ownership of land increased during the Muromachi period. This was due to the reason of technological advancements, in particular iron tools and new disease-resistant strains of rice, and a new farming technique called double cropping. Double cropping allowed two crops to grow in the same field and helped improve farm yields. It enabled the peasant farmers to make a decent living from a small plot of land. Clearer laws about land ownership were also put into place, making it less likely for peasant farmers to lose their land by the shugo. The artisans. Although artisans produced many beautiful and necessary goods such as clothes, cooking utensils, woodblock prints, they were considered less important than the farmers. Once again, according to the Confucian teaching, although artisans and craftsmen did make things, the things they made were considered not essential. Things such as pottery, jewelry, silk spinning, and swordsmiths were all included in this group. The merchants. The bottom rung of feudal Japanese society was occupied by merchants. Both travelers and traveling traders and shopkeepers were considered in this group of people. Merchants were ostracized as parasites, that is, they were considered or perceived as parasites who profited from the labor of the more productive peasants and artisan classes. Not only did merchants live in a separate section of each city, but the higher classes were forbidden to mix with them except on business occasions. Nevertheless, many merchants' families were able to amass large fortunes. As the economic power grew, so did their political influences, and the restrictions against them weakened. That concludes our video. I hope we all have a greater understanding of feudal life and social structures in medieval Japan.
Created using Powtoon.